Hi, this is Dr. Dennis Nikitow. What I want to cover with you today is something that I see all the time when I'm watching professional sports. We deal with professional athletes, high school athletes, college athletes, is the pulled hamstring. Let me tell you something about the pulled hamstring. What happens is, ask yourself a question. Why do athletes always pull the same hamstring? So if it's the right hamstring, for instance, why would they always be pulling the same one? It keeps recurring. Trying to stretch the muscle, trying to rehab just the muscle doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because nobody addresses the alignment of the posture of the spine. Let me show you something. The hamstring attaches to this bone right here. It's called the ischial tuberosity, and it goes all the way down here to the knee. So basically, it's attaching from our butt all the way crossing both areas of the knee. Now, there's something interesting that happens when you pull a hamstring. You can have a problem with pelvic misalignment. You can have a problem with foot misalignment and or knee misalignment. Knee problems usually come from foot and or pelvis out of alignment because the knee is like a hinge in a door, so basically it gets torqued. And if it gets torqued, the muscle will pull repeatedly. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple things, because one of the things we have to address is what are the alignment issues that can occur with the pelvis. Okay, so now when we look at the pelvis, we look at the back of the spine, all these little dots are supposed to line up properly here. Okay, so basically when we look at this, this is an aligned pelvis. A person can have where the spinal column is actually shifted too far to one side. Okay, so let's say this is the right, this is the left, you're viewing this from the back. If this happens, the majority of our weight is from our head to our waist, so what happens is the spinal column is compressing on disc joints and nerves here. That's going to cause, like a dimmer to a light, misfiring of the hamstring. But as soon as you start to pull where the spine and posture is over to one side, the pelvis is basically shifted over to the opposite side. So in this case, the pelvis would be shifted to the left. So basically it does this. So when we're standing, the pelvis would shift, okay, like that. Now when that happens and the pelvis is shifted off center, think of the muscles as rubber bands. They're pulling harder on one side than the other. The second distortion pattern that can occur is if there's a rotation in the pelvis. Now, looking at the axis straight up and down as if there was a rod going from our head through our butt here, we would twist, and all of a sudden this would be called a rotation, okay? Rotations will wear out discs 10 times faster. That's where a lot of people get horrible sciatic pain. But a rotation would be something like this, if the pelvis was completely rotated on its axis like that. Once again, the hamstrings are going to pull tighter on one side, and they're going to be looser on the other side. So they're not going to get their proper nerve supply released correctly. The last one that we typically see, and sometimes we'll see all three of these distortions together at one time, is a torque pattern. It's kind of hard to show you a torque pattern, but let me show you this. When we walk, basically, this pelvis will go back to make the leg short. This one will go forward to make the leg long, okay? And then they'll shift back and forth. So when we are walking, in order for me to ambulate and get, this leg has to be short, my pelvis has to go backward. That means that this pelvis is actually going forward, so the leg is longer, so basically I can make that particular step. So if you ever watch a horse from the back, their pelvis is going back and forth, back and forth. Well, if for some reason the nerve is overfiring to one side, what happens is the pelvis is held in a position where one pelvis is back and one is too far forward. Next thing you know, there's compression on the disc joint nerve, the sacroiliac joint, the sciatic nerve, but the hamstring begins to pull on the pelvis that's going forward. The way to check that is you look at the leg length when a person's laying on their stomach, and if one leg is longer than the other, that means the pelvis is going forward on that side, and the hamstring is pulling upward. So it is constantly in higher tension. So when an athlete is under load and try to really move quickly, nerves aren't shutting down fast enough to allow that hamstring to release, and as a result of that, they begin to pull it. Now, we work in a three-dimensional coordinate system called Cartesian coordinate system. It's an XYZ axis not all chiropractors use. If you're having trouble with ongoing back pain, sciatic pain, if you're having problems with pain in the groin, or you keep pulling the same muscle, you need to get checked by someone who does that three-dimensional coordinate system. Okay, so that's crucial. Otherwise, the hamstrings are going to keep pulling, they'll be off balance, and you're never going to get it fixed because the nerve muscle memory is not locked in balance. It's out of balance. One nerve is firing harder than the other. And as a chiropractor who does this type of three-dimensional work, what I do is once I identify the pattern, I mirror image it. Like if you had a rotation, we're going to give you exercises and adjustments to fire the fast nerve and the slow nerve receptor to activate that nerve to talk to the muscle to pull the bones back in alignment. Chiropractors don't move bones in alignment. We trigger nerve receptors that tell nerves to tell muscles to pull bones in alignment. That's what we do, and that's important that you know that. But once we identify you in 3 dimensions, because a lot of chiropractors don't use this type of technique, only work 1-dimensional, so they're not getting those things resolved, and it keeps happening over and over and over again. The other thing we do is we check the feet, because if the feet are pronated or supinated or out of alignment, okay, what we'll do is do adjustments in the feet, maybe get you an orthotic to balance the foundation, and then take care of the pelvic alignment. Last thing I want to tell you is if you are having any kind of a pulling of the hamstring or stretching or sciatic pain and your leg is longer on that side, when you stretch your hamstring, don't ever put your leg completely straight. What you want to do is keep your leg bent at about a 30-degree angle. This will stretch the belly of the muscle. Number 2, when you put your leg, if my pelvis was going forward on this side, by putting my leg up on a specific bench or something, it'll automatically pull my pelvis back, which is really important. Then do a hug to your thigh, and once you get into thigh and hugging it, then just do a couple bounces like that. Now, not heavy bounces, just stretch bounces like this. And all you got to do is do that for about 5 to 10 times, and you're going to start to see that you'll get some really nice results with not only stretching the hamstring, but allowing that forward pelvis to come back. If you have any questions, obviously contact us. We'll be more than happy to help you out. This is Dr. Dennis Nikitow. I want to thank you for joining me. And Pete, please pay attention to our YouTubes, our Facebook. If you haven't joined, and if you like this information, we're going to continue giving this information to you on a regular basis. Thanks a lot.